What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Cryptographics. And today I want to dive into the future supply and what's really happening under the surface right now with TITANX and the price chart and really what the future might look like. So this is going to be some pretty important information, especially if you really don't know how to sort this out yourself, or if you really haven't been thinking of things like I'm going to lay out for you. So stick around. We're going to go through a lot of information here, and hopefully I can illuminate a lot of interesting stuff for you. So right now it's day 101 for TITANX, right? And currently, if we look at the supply that has come out since launch, we can see that obviously there was not a lot in the beginning, and then we just went like crazy over the last few months. And so if we do the math on what the token supply that's come out over the last few months are, well, we get a whopping, what is it here? 46 trillion tokens have come out so far. That, and not all of them still are on the market. Like if we go to the TITANX website here and we go to stats, what we can see is there's been a whole lot of buy and burn going on. So we got about 16.5 trillion and counting that's been burnt forever, right? Bought and burnt. So a lot of it's still in supply. Liquid is just increasing. And if we come here though, and we were to say, okay, well, what's the average since launch? And this isn't exactly accurate, but what it will do is it will paint an interesting picture as we move forward. So if we were to look from the beginning here in October 29th, and we go all the way to today, we can basically see that if we divide our total supply that's come out so far by 101. And so when we're doing this, what we want to make sure that we're thinking of is, okay, well, as the token amount on average that was coming out was extremely low, obviously prices could rise. And as prices basically went up, people started mining, and as the supply started coming out, well, we started tanking. And so as we can see here on the TITANX wrapped ETH price chart, if we look at the dates here, so the top here was December 4th, call it, right? And if we go back and look at the supply, December 4th was basically down here when there was 23 billion coming out. And then slowly we can see this just ramp up in terms of supply until we're getting like 2.3 trillion tokens coming out a day, which is a lot of tokens. So obviously we can see with that immense amount of sell pressure that this was likely to happen, in hindsight. And what we can see too is this point here is roughly around when Dragon X was announced and then launched, and we got a little pump. We came in a little further, but now we're having some interesting action. So now the question is, okay, well, could we go up from here? And why or why not? And there's a few different ways to look at this. So the first thing that I'm next looking at is we got to look at the future supply, right? So if the current supply, or if the previous supply on average coming out, right, was 458 billion, and we come down here and look at the next 90 days, we can see that, well, I mean, it doesn't exactly look like that's going down until we get into around March when that begins to descend. I would say the average somewhere in here is probably around 700 billion over the entirety of February, which, I mean, that's not necessarily good for TITANX's price chart. Now, that's not necessarily the whole picture always. We have a lot of protocols coming out. I mean, if you go to titanxhub.com, you're going to be able to go and see that there's a ton of protocols, which is why I believe we're getting this little holding pattern here, because there is so much to look forward to. If we go back to the stats, look how much liquid there is. There's 11 trillion. I mean, like, we've never seen that much liquid before ever in TITANX. And I think that is because, and I say that's because there's so much coming soon that people want to put their TITANX to work, and possibly, right? So now the question is, okay, with this much coming out, even if the TITANX ecosystem starts just flourishing in terms of lots of protocols start coming out, well, then you run into this a weird kind of situation, because yes, what's likely to happen is if people start participating or people start buying, right, to participate, right, well, the price is going to want to walk up like this. But the problem here is that the higher the price goes, the more the temptation for those who are already in TITANX to sell. So we're going to probably see correction. And then as more protocols come up, we'll see corrections. And realistically, I'm kind of expecting TITANX to be in this region, maybe even up as high as like five zeros and a 5 or 6. this could totally change based on like how crazy people go for certain protocols. But if we look at the amount of supply coming out in the next month, if price pumps for any reason, like it already did, it pumped and then it dumped and then it's walked up and then it kind of walked back where it came. And so I think this is going to be a pattern we're going to see. And maybe we see higher highs and maybe a little bit of higher lows, meaning that the pattern essentially follows a trend where we're kind of going up, but it's really slow. It's not like straight up and to the right, but it's a little slower. And this is, I think, going to have this. The reason this is important is because where we're going in terms of the future is looking at the supply. Now, if the price pumps a little bit, people aren't really going to start mining like crazy just because we get a little pump, right? Like when you come here and you look at your ROI and you're thinking about starting some miners, I mean, if you're thinking about this more than just in the moment, what I would recommend doing is thinking, okay, well, the price is currently for this miner 172, and let's say this was like a 100-day miner, right? Let's say you're risking it and you're like, maybe I'm going to do this, right? Because you think that, okay, we've done a little bit of a pump, we're up here, and the price is, I'm just going to do it based on where the price is now. Well, you're kind of taking out this entire very critical part of the entire picture, which is where are we going from here? Like, and this is what this is trying to outline here for you guys. And so knowing that miners really will only start in large quantities when this price chart continuously moves up and is sustainable. Well, what's going to make that sustainable? How are we going to get there? So this is where we're going next. So we know that February is going to have a ton of supply coming out. But if we look into March and we start to move into April, well, we can see that there's this slow decline. And I would say, I mean, I haven't done the math here, but like if you look at this, you could say the average declining is getting closer into like the low 4s, 5s, something like that in here. And so we're kind of almost at break even in terms of our total supply that's been coming out since the beginning in terms of average, right? So we're going to probably stay in this realm for quite a while. But let's play the bullish scenario for a second and say, okay, February comes, bunch of supply comes out, maybe we dump a little bit, maybe we pump a little bit, we stay sideways, but then people start burning a ton of this supply on a daily basis for other protocols to get into whatever that is. Well, let's say it takes until April to get all the way to a point where now miners are profitable again. Okay, maybe short-term miners, which would probably be pretty high. Like we'd have to be somewhere like in this range here for short-term miners to even be considered possibly basically profitable. And I even think it's probably higher than that. So just don't take my word for that here, but I'm just basically doing the quick math on stream, which you're never supposed to do. But here we are. So this is where things go now. When the price rises and miners start happening again, April is around day 160. Now, what's the significance of day 160? Well, you have this as your daily not payout, but this is your daily mineable TITANX before the bonuses. So you're almost at 50% reduction of the supply that's possible to come out in April, meaning all the supply that came out before and that has previously been mined and will come out is going to take double the economic energy to mine and more. The ETH costs are also going up. So if we look at, where is it here? If we look at the cost of ETH over time, by day 160, or well, let's go 164. If we go to day 164, now it's 0.22 ETH. So basically, it's over 10% more for the ETH cost, and you get half as much, basically. You get half as much for 10% more economic energy coming in. At some point here, if prices stay too low, I don't actually think this is a bad thing. Now, we all want the pump. We all want the hockey stick chart, right? But if this supply table stays like it is right now and just kind of descends here, we're going to get to a point when this starts to drop off to a point where prices start to rise again, or for whatever reason prices start to rise again, if it takes till April or maybe May to get the miners going again, like to the same degree that we were doing before, or maybe even half of that, right? Then what we're going to see is a significant decrease in possible supply being mined using ETH, because it's just going to take so much more energy. And every day that goes by, TITANX just gets more difficult to get, and the ETH costs go up as well. So the T rank goes down. So there's all these factors playing against everyone. And so right now, we're going to have a interesting next few months, because I don't think it's possible that we're going to be doing much more than going up and down kind of sideways here, and maybe something happens where this is not actually sideways and we actually just kind of dump because a handful of people decide I'm out for whatever reason. But what's important to consider here is what the future is going to look like for this protocol and to act accordingly. And here's something that's interesting. For all the protocols launching over this next period, this is actually a really good scenario. Like, it's not a bad thing at all for prices to be low. In fact, it's better. Why? Well, it's easier for you and I, or anyone that wants to participate in any protocol, to take economic energy, go buy TITANX on the market, and then use that to get into protocol. If it's 1 billion TITANX at a 100 power miner, or 500 million, whatever the number is, to get into a protocol, and the prices are way up here at, let's say, 5 zeros and a 6. Well, that's going to cost you like $6,300 for 1 billion tokens. Down here, well, it's going to cost you $1,100, $1,200. So if you have $6,300 and you're going to be playing with this, well, you can start 6 times the miners for your same money. I mean, that's a big deal. And in terms of the TITANX supply, this is where things can get interesting, because if the supply coming out actually starts to get burned like crazy and people really start participating, which who knows if they will, right? The protocols have to build the systems first that make people want to actually participate in them. But if it does, we could see all this supply completely diminish. And then if prices really run or start to basically trend to the upside, miners will start again. And so I'm really making this video just point out a lot of, I guess, statistics and data to show you kind of where TITANX could go. Now, I could be wrong in either direction. TITANX, everyone could just be like, nah, I'm not selling short of a 1000X. And then we just kind of go like straight up, right? Everyone could also, something could come up. The market externally could change. I mean, the global market could change. The global circumstance could change. I don't know, something could be in the water and everyone decides that I'm out, and then you just have this downward motion as well. Like, all these things could happen. But if things keep going consistently like they are, and we don't get these imaginary horribles that actually are not imaginary anymore, they're actually horribles, you'll probably see TITANX trend like we were talking about, where it goes up and then down and then up and then down and then up and then down. And it really just depends on how effective these protocols are. So I wanted to bring you a video to just clarify what the supply coming in the next short period is over the next coming weeks, as well as the next few months, and what that's going to mean for the supply coming out in the future. So again, to double back real quick before we end on the supply coming out, this is significant to understand. If it takes up to day 160 for miners to be profitable for shorter term, or even relatively short term right now, you're going to see a lot less supply coming in for the same economic energy. That's a significant that's very significant to understand. And if we take it a month further, let's say by the time May hits, finally we have basically an equilibrium where the miners are profitable again. Well, now you basically have 11% increase in ETH cost, and now you are basically 50%. So you're basically, this is just going to get more and more difficult to get. Less and less supply can come on the market. I mean, there's just so much to consider here, guys. But if this plays out like it could, well, we could see this sideways action, and then all of a sudden, one day, well, we might see a nice green candle just pull us, or a bunch of green candles in a row, eventually get here. Now, there's a lot of factors in this. I'm not saying this is going to happen for sure. Who knows? I mean, there's just so much going on in so many areas that affect TITANX as a whole. So we'll see. But that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. I hope you are now beginning to understand how to think about, where the price might go, why these protocols launching at the low prices are important, and, when the miners might start to come back, how that all might happen, and just to get a bigger and better, higher resolution picture of the coming months for TITANX. And then, of course, knowing that all of this could change in the blink of an eye and we could be in a completely different place. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. If you did, smash the like button and make sure you're subscribed, and let me know what you think as well. If you have any other thoughts, maybe additional ideas on or speculation on where things are going here for TITANX, or any protocol that you're really excited about too, I'd love to hear about it. So please drop me a comment. And of course, guys, if you want coaching, I have that in the description below. All the links for today's stuff, including the Dune Analytics page here, is all going to be in the description below. And that's it, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you guys very soon in the next one. Peace.